Well, the snow inspired me yesterday with the solid coating that I got here in North Georgia. So we put the Christmas tree up and we got the trains running. But we also have a show to do. Thankfully, everything worked out okay. There we go. So I got to turn the trains off. So, slow rebound from this cold start to the week. A lot of records set across the South, both the temperature and snow records that were set. But things are going to calm down to some extent, although the wind is going to be a little busy. And we'll take a look at the weekend, which might be the next chance for some minor precipitation. We'll talk about it all tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast if you do your holiday shopping on Amazon. Use our referral link that's on the description to this podcast to get you there, so Amazon can chuck us back a little bit of Christmas cheer for sending you there. And it doesn't cost you 1 cent out of your own pocket. It is a quick, easy way to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast and keep the live version commercial free. And if you are shopping for a weather geek, get him the Tempest Weather Station, Tempest by WeatherFlow. It's the revolutionary Tempest weather system, runs on solar power. You can manage it from your mobile device or get a display with you if you want. And you'll be part of the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is on the description to this podcast, but it's also pinned to the top of the chat board. And there is always that fabulous coupon code, Joe Rayo.
That fabulous coupon code that you make reference to is indeed fabulous. It felt like it was winter 2025. However, the coupon code reads autumn 2025, believe it or not.
And if you use that...
and if you use that coupon code, and if you use the coupon code, I didn't realize I had to continue with this, but if you do use that coupon code, you can get 10% off of any item that you purchase through Tempest, which is a good deal.
It is a good deal. 21, I think, was my low this morning. Woke up to that snow cover that was on the ground from last night. I mean, since I've been here, this is the earliest it's ever snowed. And talking to people around here saying it does occasionally snow up here in November, but this was a bit early. But a lot of places across the South, and even in the Ohio Valley, I saw that Cincinnati got nearly 3 inches out of this. And that was a record for them. It wasn't the earliest snowfall, but it was certainly a record for the day. In Chattanooga, Charlotte, North Carolina, also picked up a coating of snow that set a record. Down south, if you get a coating of snow, it sets a record. Just put it that way. But yeah, really a very wintry day here. And a wintry day across the Northeast and just about everybody in the eastern half of the U.S.
Hey, I mean, I had snow today. It didn't amount to all that much, maybe about 2 or 3/10 of an inch, but it was out there. And not only here up in the hinterlands, I was watching the Veterans Day Parade in Manhattan
they got some
today, and there was snow down here.
Yeah, on Long Island too. Same thing. They did get snow, and the wind was an issue today for you as well.
Yes, the winds made it feel much, much colder. Felt like in the 20s at best, all during the course of the day, and it was rough to be out there for even a few minutes. But it's a preview of what we're all going to be dealing with in the coming days ahead. Coming weeks ahead. The coming days ahead, we're looking hopefully for a moderation in these extreme temperatures and getting a little bit milder over the next couple of days.
I mean, still the bounce is kind of puny because you're going to get back to maybe the low 50s and then just kind of hover there for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Maybe something a little more sizable over the weekend ahead of the next cold front. That next system has a shot of cold air behind it, nothing like this. And it's probably going to be confined to New England and areas perhaps just to the south of that for early next week for a day or so.
Well, but the good news is that what we're experiencing right now is the worst of it, and we
Yes.
should be going after another blustery cold night tonight. We should at least notice tomorrow a slight easing of the winds and also a slight moderation in the temperatures, and so it'll be not quite as harsh tomorrow as what we were dealt today with the clouds and the wind, the cold, and yes, in many places the snow too.
Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board, and welcome to those of you watching in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We are here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays are off days unless there's a storm around, which of course, if there is, we always be adding shows. So we will certainly let you know about it. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, even a teeny tiny itsy bitsy bit, we appreciate very much if you hit the like button. So, shall we get going?
Surely,
Surely you, surely you jest. Yes, we're going to get going here,
no, I
and
don't jest.
no, not on Tuesdays anyway. Not a whole lot happening tonight from the standpoint of watches and warnings across the country. Actually, with a big cold air mass like this, it's all about the cold, and it's not really about much of anything else going forward. We do still have some winter weather advisories along the lake shores of Lake Ontario and in north central New York. We have freeze warnings tonight in South Georgia and northern Florida, and even some frost advisories on the southern flank of that. And out in the west, we have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories up for the Sierra Nevadas and various wind advisories in California as we get the next wave of moisture from a Pacific storm that is off the coast. And that's it keeps sending wave after wave of precip. And here's a surface map tonight at 4 p.m. We've got low pressure in eastern Canada. By the way, Joe, they got. I saw a few messages from some people in Quebec. They got hit pretty hard with 1 foot plus snows over a large portion of Quebec, of southern Quebec.
Does that include Montreal? I guess it
I don't
does.
know if it said. I don't remember I don't remember if he said Quebec City or Montreal. I don't think he mentioned Montreal. He may have mentioned Quebec City. But we saw yesterday on the radar how much moisture was on the other side in the St. Lawrence River Valley, and when the cold air came in, there you go. It just went kind of crazy from the snow standpoint. And Chicago had snow out of this too in the lakefront, so it was very busy. The gradient on the surface map still remains pretty tight, though. The high is off the Georgia all the way down in the Gulf of Mexico, down in Louisiana. I mean, this thing went all the way down south. But you've got the gradient that's pinned here across the Northeast, and as you said, the wind will get a little less busy tomorrow, but it'll still be somewhat busy, and probably not going to see a real relaxation of the gradient anytime soon.
The situation for the coming days ahead, and I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh my goodness, it looks like we are we going to be in for a frigid Thanksgiving?" But actually, I'm looking at the CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, and they're suggesting all the way out to November 25th on their 8 to 14-day temperature outlook that much of the central and eastern United States, including the New York area, and including you too, Joe, will be trending toward above normal temperatures as we move toward the latter part of this month. So, it may be a temporary thing, but it does look right now like we may be turning the corner, so to speak, sometime next week.
Birder Lady hit the tip jar. Thank you very much, Birder Lady, for hitting Super Chat tonight. And Miss Blue Ocean uh, got 4 to 5 inches where she is. She said the birds didn't like it, Joe. It covered their food because she hasn't put the covering over the dishes yet. So you got to do that now going forward for sure. The next weather front is crossing the Great Lakes. You see it on the surface map. There's a trailing warm front that runs down through Illinois. Again, the air behind it is chilly, but nothing crazy. I mean, was in the low 40s today across much of Minnesota and then going up into Alberta province and Saskatchewan. So it's a chilly shot, but it's not anything crazy as we pointed out. The big high. Some of the temperatures in Florida, Joe, were really crazy today. Miami, I'm just looking at the map at 4 o'clock, was 68, and go a little bit further to the north, it was 66. I believe it was down in the 40s, down in parts of central and southern Florida this morning.
That's cold. I think I heard somewhere that Jacksonville, Florida, had a low this morning of 27 degrees, which
Oh,
crushed their old low temperature for this day by about 8 degrees. So, yeah, it was pretty cold, depending upon where you were on the Florida Peninsula. Even in Miami, they saw temperatures this morning in the 50s. For them.
yeah, that's not nice. It just isn't. All right, satellite loop tonight, showing again the cold air that is moved. Um, Hang on 1 second. Okay, you're still there. uh, the cold air over the ocean. You can see the clouds offshore, and you can see that there's clouds back over into the Great Lakes. Again, these weak, fast-moving disturbances are just moving along in the flow. And there is actually some snow ahead of that warm front, cold front combination that has now moved to the other side of Michigan. It's probably snowing at a pretty good clip at the moment in Toronto, looking at this radar. And that extends down into Ohio and West Virginia, seeing some snow up in Maine and still seeing some snow showers in upstate New York. Not much of anything else going on in the rest of the country. And here's what it looks like from the standpoint of precip wise, melted down. We're looking at generally from southern New England all the way down to Florida, anywhere from a tenth of an inch to nothing. So bone dry. It's more active in New England, where we're still looking at, and again, there's going to be some lake effect precip here in upstate New York and in western, southwest New York and northwest Pennsylvania. Melted all down. There'll be some areas of an inch and a half of liquid plus. Now, not all of that is going to be snow, by the way. In fact, more of it will probably wind up being rain over the weekend, the way it's playing out. We're also seeing indications of half to three-quarters of an inch from northeast Texas northeastward into Kentucky and Tennessee, and that's from a weather system uh, later this week and going into the weekend. And then actually, I think this may be for something for early next week. And in the west, a lot of rain for Southern California. Looking at several to many inches in the mountains of Los Angeles and points north, also in the Sierra Nevadas, and then up the coast to Oregon and Washington State, and also some substantial precip being indicated in Arizona, where we're talking about several inches of rain or more over the next 7 days. So pretty bullish from that standpoint. I just want to point out a couple of things going on in the long range. Uh, I'm not going to use GFS, uh, the GFS Madden-Julian oscillation. I'll use the NAO because that's what's available. But uh, the European has been, of all the models, has been doing a really good job. The GFS lately has been really just hideous. But what's really interesting, Joe, is that in the Madden-Julian oscillation game, right now we're in phase six, which in the month of November, phase six is a cold pattern for the Northeast, and clearly that is, and actually not just the Northeast, but for a good chunk of the eastern part of the United States. That is forecast to go into phase seven and eventually into phase eight by the time we get to the end of the forecast period, which is the 20th day on this map. So this takes us just virtually to the end of November. So we may be going into a fairly active and cold phase if this forecast holds. That we may be going into a phase eight for the month of December, and that is a cold and potentially snowy. But I would caution everybody because last year we were in the cold phases of the Madden-Julian oscillation for for weeks, and whatever else was going on, yeah, there were snowstorms, but they were all in the south, if you recall, for the most part. So none of these things are silver bullets. They kind of guide you to give you an idea of where the overall pattern is going, but you can't really determine anything specific from this. The other thing I noticed is that uh, the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, is negative, and actually by a decent amount. And it's forecast to stay that way through the end of the month as well. So it'd be interesting to see where we actually wind up when we get to early December, if we do actually go into phase 8 on the Madden-Julian oscillation, and we do stay with the negative NAO as we go into the 3 winter months of December, January, and February. In the meantime, as we take a look at what's going on the surface map, you can see the very tight gradient up and down the eastern seaboard earlier today. Relaxes a little bit tomorrow, but not a whole lot. Then this next disturbance, and it brings some rain to the lakes. Odd that it was as cold as it is, and they're going to get rain in in parts of Michigan and into western New York and western Pennsylvania. A little bit of snow running ahead of it in northeastern New York and into New England, but very light stuff, and it falls apart. And most of the precip falls apart. Although the European does bring a little bit of, maybe a couple of sprinkles Wednesday afternoon into the Hudson Valley and northern New Jersey, and then that goes by. Uh, Little slight reinforcement of the chilly air, so that'll just keep us kind of where we're in the daytime highs in the upper 40s, low 50s scheme for Thursday into Friday. And then as we go into the weekend, now you get all this Pacific energy that's coming in, and eventually that does translate into a low that you see there up north of Lake Superior comes Saturday evening, and there's a trailing warm front that runs down into eastern Pennsylvania. So the European wants to bring some showers here Saturday night, and then the cold front comes and brings showers for Sunday. And then after that goes by, it turns a little colder. Early next week, behind this front, Joe, the thickness has actually dropped down to 522, between 522 and 528. It's not as cold as this shot, but it is a cold shot. Certainly, you would see below normal temperatures running from, say, Virginia up into Maine for early next week for a couple of days, and then that goes away. We've got the more energy coming into the west. Uh, has a tough time getting into the east because of the blocky situation, and then some kind of low comes out late next week into Ohio, and this was a very dynamic European for and obviously it's 9 or 10 days away. But when you were speaking of the fact of getting into maybe a severe weather event, you look at this and you think, well, is this what the European is telling us for a week from Friday?
Yeah, we have been talking about this for a long time about how, and especially in terms of the GFS, how it's very difficult, especially at this time of the year when the pattern is so progressive, when things are moving so rapidly, and even a supercomputer is having trouble keeping pace with the atmosphere. To try and say that you can go all the way out with some surety or certainty, let's say beyond 4 or 5 days, I think you're really rolling the dice and taking a chance. I really think that much beyond 4 or 5 days, it's more guesswork than anything else. But again, as I said at the top of the show, the CPC seems to be indicating that we're going to be going into a milder or warmer weather pattern in the next 1 to 2 weeks, and maybe envelop Thanksgiving. So we'll see how that all boils down to. It's quite possible that what we might see are just short-term shots of cold weather, then a quick warming trend or a moderation in temperatures, and then another shot of cold air comes in, followed again by a gradual moderation in temperatures. So that may be the story for the rest of the month. Not necessarily a continuous pattern of cold weather, but cold breaking down, getting milder, then another shot of cold air breaking down, getting milder, that kind of a thing for the rest of this month of November.
Just running through the European upper air, very blocky for the next 16 days. All that purple that you see up in northeast Labrador across into Greenland, this is a pretty solid Greenland block that's developed very early. And while can't say it. I mean, it's super strong here into mid-month, and you see all the troughing that drops down into the east. And one trough pulling out, another one dropping right in, right behind it. And again, this would be for next Monday, a decent shot of cold air that comes in. The block still holds strong over between Greenland and Labrador through next week. It starts to weaken a little bit as we get into Thanksgiving week, but still we have above normal pressures all across the Arctic region, from the Bering Sea to Alaska, and then right across northern Canada back to Greenland, right through the last day of the period, which is the day before Thanksgiving. And that's forcing all this energy to just kind of go further south. You see where the upper lows are, one in the Gulf of Alaska, another one that's down in from Nebraska down into Kansas and Oklahoma, another trough, a cutoff low south of Newfoundland. So very, very, relatively persistent blocking that is in place and doesn't really show any indication of going away anytime soon. So, look, if you're a winter weather lover, you look at this and you have to think that you could be hopeful, but I would just again be very cautious because we get led down these roads a lot, and then poof, it goes away. Not saying that this is going to go away because it does look like it wants to be fairly persistent. I do like the idea of higher than normal pressures in northwestern Canada. There's a negative East Pacific Oscillation signature to all this. So as long as that holds, that will be, by the time we get to the end of the month and going into the December, I mean, it certainly would argue that you could wind up with some early snow chances. And I also want to take a look, if we look at the polar vortex really quick, because it's been in a weakish, stretchy mode, and it continues to be that way. You don't want to see it coiled up into a tight little ball over the Arctic region, but you can see on this latest run, for example, and this is for Friday, the image that's up on the screen. The center of the vortex is up near the North Pole, but it's all stretched out down into the United States and into the Southwest, and it just kind of lifts, sort of pivots up and around over time, back over into Siberia at the end of the forecast period. But it's a significant stretching that we're seeing going on this week. And again, it's not an overly strong polar vortex scenario that we are looking at going forward. So again, you look, if you're thinking about maybe a wintry December. Right now, things seem to be lining up that way, but we got a long way to go yet. We still got 19 days left of this month. Did you say you said to me earlier that you wanted to share something with our studio audience? Oh, and before you do that, Joe, just really quick,
Yes.
I just want to acknowledge Brandon Doherty. Thank you, Brandon Doherty, for hitting the tip jar tonight. Appreciate the kind words. So you want to share? Go ahead.
Well, at about 5 o'clock this morning, there was a super solar flare, and what you're seeing on the screen right now is the after effects of that flare. Those are protons, Joe, that are just speckling the screen. Now, this is taken from the SOHO satellite, which is about 1 million miles from the Earth, out in space, kind of a geocentric orbit that it stays in the same spot, trained on the sun all the time. And usually when you get a solar flare, we look for what's called a coronal mass ejection. And if the ejection goes out all around the sun is this white circle here, that's what you look for a possible geomagnetic storm. But sometimes the flare is so potent that it just simply rains down with protons onto the satellite and the camera, and you can see that in this speckling effect. When you see that in the wake of a major solar flare, and this solar flare did produce a halo effect, a coronal mass ejection, that is the signal that there may very well be a very potent geomagnetic storm. And in fact, that storm is expected to hit the Earth tomorrow sometime in the mid or late day hours, which means that tomorrow evening, as soon as it gets dark, and hopefully it'll be clear in your area, you should step outside and look for the northern lights. The indications are, and the solar laboratory that observes the sun constantly, they are saying that we may have what is called a G4 storm. Now, this is almost like the Saffir-Simpson scale in terms of the strength of a solar or geomagnetic storm. They go from 1 to 5. This could be a 4 tomorrow, which means that aurora or northern lights may be visible as far south as Northern California down to Alabama. So this is going to be one of those. Twice last year, if you remember, in May and October, we had super displays of the aurora borealis that were visible all across much of the United States.
Yeah.
We might be looking at another such display tomorrow night. So let us hope that we get it, number one. And number two, if we do get it, let's hope the skies will be clear. I don't quite frankly think, Joe, we're going to have much of a chance here in the tri-state area. I think we're going to have a lot of cloud cover tomorrow afternoon, lingering into tomorrow night, maybe a clearing after midnight, but by then, this solar magnetic storm may be over or ending. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. But for those of you who are not in the New York area, who have a more favorable weather forecast for clear skies, even you, Joe, I think last year you had photographed the aurora from where you were
Yeah. I
and
mean, it's
sent me a whole
possible.
series of pictures. Excuse
Yeah.
me?
I said it is possible. No, that yes, and yeah, I might be able to see it here.
Yeah, it certainly, if they're saying it might be visible as far south as Alabama, you certainly would be in the viewing range as well. So we'll see how that all pans out tomorrow night. The sun has been very, very active. There's been one sunspot that's been spitting out or spewing solar activity, solar flares, like every couple of days. This one, however, the one that was erupted at 5 o'clock this morning, this one by far and away is the biggest solar flare that we have seen in this current solar cycle. And that's why those who watch the sun are excited and are thinking that we may be in line for a major solar storm, geomagnetic storm later tomorrow and into tomorrow night. We shall see.
Do you have Briller Jeopardy tonight?
I do
Or
believe I do.
you
Yes.
do?
And I will get it for you if you hang on for a moment.
Oh, I have all the time in the world, Joe. I'm just very tired because I put my Christmas tree up and I put my trains up, and I had to go scouring around boxes trying to find the darn things. I had stuff packed in different places, and I had to get a ladder. So, when you get a certain age, you really don't want to use a ladder
That is,
anymore. I'm at that point in my life.
I, this is so stupid. I don't understand this. One guy on Facebook sends me a video. What is the video? The video runs all of 4 seconds and it shows you the view through the front windshield of a car going down a straightaway or going down a straight road. And I'm saying to myself, so what's so special about this? I don't understand why people do this or send me this. And I don't even know who this guy is. But anyway, um, let's go to Mr. Briller here. So, Briller Jeopardy tonight, starting a brand new category, Joe. Biggest 24-hour snowfall in each state. And we begin with these 5 states. We'll
Oh
start
my
with
God.
Alabama. What is the biggest snowfall in terms of inches? The biggest snowfall, 24-hour snowfall that has been seen in
In
Alabama.
Alabama? Oh, I mean, it's
Yes.
got, you got to think in northern Alabama, particularly that, I can remember a couple of events in the last 20 years where like Birmingham got 7 or 8 inches. So I'll say at least, I'll say 15.
How much? 16?
15.
15.
Should I have
Well,
said?
it's still a
Should
pretty
I
good
have said?
number. It's still a
Should,
very good guess.
should I have said 16?
No, but I will tell you that your guess is slightly lower than what, well, not maybe slightly, a bit lower than the actual number. And in fact, we do have some winners on the chat board already. We have Patrick Darcy, Carol DeChera. Both of them said 18, and that is the number. Believe it or
18.
not, 18 inches
Harold Olson
in
also said 18.
Reform, 18 inches in Reform, Alabama. I've never been to Reform, but and I suspect it's in the northern part of the state. But they had 18 inches of snow once. You know, I wouldn't doubt it that that might have been the superstorm of '93 that
That's possible.
dropped 18 inches on them. Yep, yeah. All right. So how about the state of Alaska?
Oh my God.
We're doing Alaska now.
Well, there's that. Alaska's got some of those places there that gets hundreds and hundreds of inches of winter. This is the 24-hour snowfall.
Correct.
Oh, Joe. I mean, I assume it's a big number.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty big
Yeah.
for a one-day snowfall.
Well, for a 24-hour snowfall, I see people posting numbers in the 70s and 80s. So I'll say, Rich Rothmansky usually gets pretty close. He says 80. So I'll say 79.
Well, you're closer than to Rich by 1 inch.
Right. Okay.
A lot of those are not quite. It's not quite as high as many of you had forecast. However, I am seeing some lower numbers now. Latex Streams had double nickels, 55 inches. Same for Miss Spallerite. David Fuller, you're a little closer at 75. It's somewhere between 55 and 75. How's that?
Okay. So I'm not seeing. Let's see. Nobody really split the difference here. Everybody either went, way up or way down. Frank Scalera's got 58.
I will say, Michael McGuire, you're the closest so far with 60.
60. All right, now we got people throwing numbers like 64, 65, 67.
Steve Lapointe, you're also close with 64. You're a little too high.
Okay,
And
so
Michael McGuire at 60, you're a little too low.
well, Chuck Cardillo's got 63, and Michael McGuire now has 62. So which one is it?
It's 62.
62. Okay.
62.
Where?
That was at Thompson Pass, Alaska.
I was just there 2
Now,
weeks
David
ago.
Scott on the chat was. Oh, okay.
I went food shopping.
I'm not sure what David Scott is. David Scott is going to the internet, and he says, according to Perplexity,
Right. Perplexity is an AI.
it says 78 inches. Well, it says 78 inches on February 7th, 1963, but that's not the number that the chairman came up with 62 inches.
Okay. Alaska's
So,
a big
there you
state.
go.
I mean, it's big, like twice the size of the state of Texas. So it could very well be numbers that we don't know about. Anyhow, what's the next one?
How about Arizona?
Oh, that's like a Flagstaff number. Um, I'll say 25 for Flagstaff. Thinking it's around Flagstaff or something. 25.
Not enough.
All right. McGuire says 28. Rothmansky says 41.
It's a little. McGuire was a little closer, but who said 41?
Rothmansky.
Rich Rothmansky. Oh, boy. Okay. Well, Rich is very close. Maybe a little bit too much, but he's the closest so far.
All right. Patrick Darcy's at 40. David Scott at 38.
30. I was just about to say, David Scott, congratulations. Going to give you a bell ring on this. 38. And that's at, and the 38 inches in Arizona was at Herber Ranger Station. Herber Ranger Station. And I suspect you're right, Joe. I suspect that's probably up in the north end of the state, probably somewhere near Flagstaff.
Right.
How about Arkansas? Oh, wait a minute, that's Arkansas.
Arkansas. I mean, I got to think that somewhere along the line they got, a 20-incher for some, in some obscure storm someplace. I'll say, and then the southern part of the Ozarks sticks in there. I'll say 20.
Very close. However, we already have a winner on this one. William Huber and Mike Waterhouse Bonsai. Both of them hit with 18 inches at B Branch, Arkansas. A very alliterative place. B Branch, Arkansas, 18 inches. Now, you talked about Alaska, Joe, being a big state. How about California?
Oh, I mean, in the Sierra Nevadas, I mean, we've seen those forecasts where they put winter weather advisories up for 24 to 36 inches. So you got to think that there's some places there that get literally clobbered. How about 50?
That's a good high number for a 24-hour snowfall, but not high enough.
Not high enough. Okay. Timothy Douglas is at Boxcars, 66.
That's a little bit too high.
Okay. Mr. Bonsai's got double nickels.
That's not high enough.
Not high enough. Scalera's at 63.
That's the closest we've had so far. That's just a tad too high.
All right.
Chuck Pardillo, you're in snake country with 61.
So it's 62 is the correct answer.
William Huber got it.
60.
William Huber got
60.
it with 60.
Okay.
60. And that's in the Western Sierras, which can be any place. There's no specific location, but according to what the chairman sent, Western Sierras, California.
All right, so it
60
faces
inches of snow.
it faces the Pacific, so they get the lift on a west wind. So they just basically snow forever. They just if it's cold enough, they just basically snow forever. Is that the last one?
And there you go. That was it.
That was it. All right, I think we had fun tonight. Well, we have fun every night here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, and we'll come back tomorrow night and have fun again at 7:35 p.m.
We'll be here, Joe.
All right. Everybody have a great night. And all right, since David Scott apparently didn't see wasn't here for the open, so let me just we'll go out with my Christmas tree and my trains. So there you go. Everybody, there you go. Look out for the super cheese. Everybody have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast.